Namaste Vidya, Hamesha Khush Raho Vidya. A very good morning to you all. Myself, JVN Dr. Ravi Jain, Assistant Professor, Department of Practice of Medicine at Faculty of Homeopathic Science in Jyoti Vidyapith Women's University, Jaipur. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the clinical examination of neurological system, and this is the continuation. Today, we are going to discuss about the various steps of assessment of mental status and function. So whenever a patient of neurological disorder is coming to you, how will you assess the status, the mental status and his functioning, the mental functions? This we are going to discuss today. What are the different steps? What are the different questions that we are going to ask from the patient who is coming to us? So let's start with the neurological examination, the steps of assessment of mental status and function. Whenever a patient is coming to us, the essential elements of mental state examinations are, the essential element remains the same, but we'll also have to emphasize on the neurological or the mental abilities of the patient to assess his functioning of the brain. So first of all, have a look at the following points. Look at the appearance of the patient, the behavior, how he is behaving with you, and the communication skills. So first of all, you have to check for the appearance of the patient, his behavior, and the communication skills. Then you have to check for the speech and language of the patient. How is the speech? Is there any fluency, or there is hesitancy, or there is any kind of stammering? And what kind of language that patient is using? After that, we have to check for the mood or the emotional status of the patient. You have to look at the appearance, behavior, and communication of the patient, how he is communicating with you. Then check for the speech and the language of the patient. Also check for the mood and emotional status, whether he is very happy or sad or in pain, agony, grief. All these things have to be taken into account. Then you have to check for the thoughts and perceptions. You have to inquire about what are the different thoughts that are coming into his mind, and the disorders of perceptions like illusion, delusions, and hallucinations. These things have to be kept into mind. Then inquire about the cognitive functions. Cognitive means what you can perceive. So cognitive functions like memory, intelligence, attention, information, vocabulary, calculations, and abstract thinking, and constructional ability. I will again repeat the cognitive functions. Cognitive functions that you can assess by asking few questions from the patient. Like memory, how is the memory of the patient? What is the level of intelligence? The attention, his information, the vocabulary. What are the different types of words that the patient is using? The calculation, the calculating ability, abstract thinking, and constructional ability. First of all, let's start all these things one by one. Appearance and behavior. Whenever a patient is coming to you, always assess the appearance of the patient. Because if a patient is mentally disturbed, then his clothing will not be proper. The clothes will be soiled, and there will be an offensive odor that can arise from the patient. So first of all, note whether there is any kind of disturbance in the consciousness, such as confusion, stupor, or coma. So you have to check for consciousness level, conscious or unconscious. The level of consciousness primarily reflects the patient's capacity for arousal or wakefulness. So if the patient is conscious, then that means he's aroused and he can respond to the questions that you are going to ask. Then look at the facial expression of the patient. Facial expression tells us a lot about the internal happening of the patient. Observe the patient at rest and while interacting with others. So facial expression, whether he's in pain, agony, whether he's very happy, accelerated, or he's sad, depressed, all these things have to be taken into account. The posture and motor behavior has to be checked for. Look for any unusual features in the behavior. Example, facial tics, fidgetiness of anxiety, crying, handwriting of agitated depression, slowed movement of depression, singing, dancing movements, and manic episodes. All these things have to be taken into account while examining the patient of neurological disorder. Then we have to check for the dressing sense, how he is dressing, how is the grooming, whether he has kept himself clean or he is dirty. Personal cleanliness has to be taken into account. How the patient is dressed, is the clothing clean, are the clothes completely ironed or pressed, or properly fasting. Then we have to check for the mood or emotional state of the patient. I will again repeat the first point. In the first point, you have to check for the appearance and behavior. You have to check for the level of consciousness or unconsciousness. The facial expression has to be checked for. The posture and motor behavior are to be checked. Then you have to check for the dressing or grooming, personal cleanliness. In the second point, we are going to check for the mood and emotional state of the patient. It is very important to evaluate the patient mood during the interview, exploring the patient's own perceptions of it. Third is the thought and perception. What are the thoughts that are going in the mind of the patient and the perceptions? Are there any flight of the ideas, loosening of association? The person shifts from one subject to another. Is there any negotism? You have to check for any kind of negative behavior, use of invented or distorted words. Incoherence, is there any coherence, means relation to the things that he's speaking, or there is no relation to the words that he's speaking. Confabulations, that is fabrication of the facts or events to fill up the gap in an impaired memory. Is there any preservation, that is persistent repetition of the words. Echolalia, that is repetition of the words and phrases of others, is a common in psychiatric disorders. So there are different disorders of the thoughts and perception, like negotism, loosely association, incoherence, confabulations, impairment in perseverance, echolalia, and these are various things that are commonly seen in case of various psychiatric disorders. Now, there are various disorders of perception like illusions. Illusions are basically, there are three things: illusion, delusion, and hallucinations. So illusion is basically, these are the misinterpretations of the real external stimuli. So suppose you are having one thing and you are thinking, suppose you are seeing a rope and the patient is seeing that rope as a snake. So that is an illusion. So it is a misinterpretation of the real external stimuli. May occur in grief disorders, delirium, acute or PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorder, and schizophrenia. The second one is the hallucinations. These are false subjective sensory perceptions in absence of relevant external stimuli. Hallucinations may be auditory, visual, olfactory, gustatory, tactile, or somatic. So hallucinations are something that doesn't exist, but still that particular patient is getting the perception of that particular thing. Suppose the patient can hear voices in absence of any source. He could see something in absence of any stimuli. He could smell something in absence of any external stimuli. It can be gustatory, taste, tactile, touch, or somatic. So all these things can be there. The next point is the insight and judgment. So the physician should also assess whether there is insight into his illness is intact or not, whether the patient is knowing about his problem, his disorder, or he is not at all worried about his disorders. Next important thing that you need to consider is the cognitive function. So cognitive function is the orientation to time, place, person. In order to assess the patient ability to recognize the time, place, person, the following questions have to be asked for. We have to check for the memory of the patient. Memory consists of ability to grasp something and retain new information. It requires adequate processing of input. It is followed by registration and the appropriate recall. Next is the intelligence. It is the higher cognitive function, information and vocabulary, then observed clinically provided a rough estimate of the person's intelligence. Next is the calculating ability, whether he is able to calculate or not. This is another cognitive function and test the memory and reasoning. It indicates more serious and specific defects. Next is the constructional ability. That is, the task here is to copy the figures of increasing complexity into a piece of blank unlined paper. So whether he is able to put all the things together or not. So this was all about today's lecture. In the next lecture, we are going to discuss about the released reflexes or return primitive reflexes. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box and I'll try to resolve it. So this was all for today. Thank you very much. We will be meeting in the next lecture tomorrow. Thank you.